Hi everybody. We're going to do a quick tech mining illustration where we profile the research of a country. In this case, going to the Middle East for Azerbaijan. The Tech Mining Introduction podcast is good background for what we're doing right now. That's number one. Now we're going to take a look at applying the software tools to a particular case. The framework that we've got going, this 8-step tech mining approach, will be gently illustrated here. Let's take a look at Azerbaijan's research. We're just going to pose some very basic questions to demonstrate country-level profiling. There's a reference below to a more in-depth study of this nature. So questions like, how active is Azerbaijan? Is their research activity changing recently? What research areas do they emphasize? Who are the leading research institutions? We're using this to introduce the 8 tech mining steps. And here we go. We're looking in Web of Science. We went through Georgia Tech's interface, which we'll show briefly. And we're going to download 5 years of data, about 1,500 records. We're not really doing much data cleaning here because this analysis is just for demonstration. To get to the data here, we used this library interface to get to the website that hosts Web of Science. Within that, we did a search, and our search is again very simple on Azerbaijan in the author's address field for this 5-year period. And here's what we get. Here's the trend in research publication by authors from Azerbaijan in Web of Science. What we see is a very notable increase. So the research community is on the rise. So who's doing this? Well, we find 993 different affiliations of the author. Not all are in Azerbaijan. If you work your way down here to number 6, you see Russian Academy of Science. How can that be? Well, they're collaborating with folks in Azerbaijan. So, if we wanted to pursue these analyses in more depth, we'd want to do data cleaning, combining name variations on the Azerbaijan National Academy of Science. So who are they collaborating with? Well, the top collaborating countries, Turkey, Russia, Iran, but an interesting extension beyond that as well. Who's funding the research? Again, this is quite interesting. These studies that involve Azerbaijan researchers are not necessarily funded from within the country. What topical areas? Well, using the Web of Science subject category that classify journals, we see a strong emphasis on physical sciences and mathematics. If you look down this list, notable in its absence is biomedical research. Let's consolidate these into what we call macro disciplines. These consolidate many of the 221 subject categories into 18. Again, the profile is much the same. Here, biomedical science does make it onto our radar, but is not prominent, as it might be in countries such as the U.S. Here we see the same profile, but now visually. So we've overlaid Azerbaijan's publications based on the journals in which they appear over this map of science. What we see again is a strong physical science, chemistry, material science, physics, engineering emphasis, with less work in the environmental, biomedical sciences, and way less in the social sciences. Okay. You could probe further if you'd like. For instance, in Vantage Point, it's very easy to use a super profile macro to pick whatever items from one list you'd like to break out. So here we've taken the macro discipline, 5 of those. For each one we've asked, so who are some of the top institutions in Azerbaijan publishing on that topic? So we see National Academy of Sciences, Again, the data should have been cleaned. Azerbaijan Academy of Science, Baku State University. And we see pretty much the same cast of characters as we scan down these different topical areas. That's interesting. Some of the key terms they're emphasizing, we could break those out. Leading authors, again, we can do the same thing. And really interesting for some analyses is to see how much of that work is really recent, in this case in the last 2 years. And we see in some areas, very much so. So a little contrast here, biomedical science, less emphasis on recent years. I'm surprised. Okay? We could zoom in further. Let's take a look at within Baku State University. Here we've picked 5 leading researchers and again profiled their activity. We can pick whatever variables we'd like to break out. Here we have subject categories, key terms, authors. So authors and authors, well, that's getting us at who they co-author with. And again, we can look at how much of their work is very recent. So author number 1, a lot is recent. Author number 2, much less so, and so forth. We can take that same co-authoring information and map it. So here we see the researcher network within Baku State just for some of the most prolific researchers. And notice we see some interesting social networks here. There could be grounds for further analysis. Here's some resources for those of you interested in different directions. Our tech mining book. Those pursuing future-oriented technology analyses, we point to this website and conference. For the science overlay maps we illustrated, here's a couple of sites for those. They also describe how to measure particular interdisciplinary research attributes. Text mining software. Okay, if you wanted to use Vantage Point, first you need suitable data. Field structured records work best. A major source for those tends to be the databases, such as illustrated here, Web of Science. Once you've got that source, you import the data using a filter into Vantage Point, clean as suitable for your intent, analyze, visualize, and interpret. So here's our source for further information on that.
Okay, let's sum up. What we've got is our field-structured text resources in volume. We can apply text data mining techniques to extract informative patterns from those data. The patterns speak to science, technology, intelligence. We can benchmark one institution or even a country against others, figure out how mature the technology is. In essence, we're answering those who, what, where, when questions to help us inform research and development policy and management decisions. These provide a strong base upon which to build futures research analyses. Hope you've enjoyed it and use these tools. Bye.